What happens when you put 3 dominant men, a blindfold, and one very familiar ex on stage in front of a live audience? That's the question the X Factor asked. And Amanda, the Kink Consultant, stepped right into the spotlight. With producer and host Catherine Drysdale pulling the strings, this live dating experiment blurred the lines between performance, pleasure, and power. And today, we're going behind the curtain to hear how it all went down. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Come Talk with Aimee. Yes, we're so excited you are here. We have two, not just one, two amazing guests today. Welcome, Catherine and Amanda.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. This episode, I cannot wait to dive in. Catherine and Amanda recently did a show that we're going to talk about live on stage called The X Factor, where Amanda literally blind dated because she had a blindfold on, 3 dominant men, because we're going to get in why. One of them was an ex of hers, and she didn't know which ex was going to be on that stage. Let us get into it. I'm first going to introduce you to Catherine and Amanda, and then we are going to dive into everything The X Factor. Catherine Drysdale is a New York-based dating and intimacy expert, Columbia Clinical Psychology grad student, and founder of the Sexpert community. She helps people feel more connected to themselves, their desires, and the people they're dating or fucking. Yes. She has been featured in Cosmopolitan, Vice, and Men's Health for her bold, research-backed approach to intimacy. Yes, Catherine, yes. Woo! All right. Yes. And Amanda Dames is the Kink Consultant, a certified sex and relationship coach and sexologist helping people navigate kink, intimacy, and pleasure with zero shame and total empowerment. With over 140K followers, hello. And as host of the Kink Consultant podcast, Amanda is known for her raw, real, and fun approach to talking about all things sex, love, and power. Yes. 2 powerhouses and badasses in the pod today. Welcome, ladies. Yes. I was there. I was one of the studio audiences of the X Factor. First of all, such an amazing treat to be in the audience. It was fabulous. So I'm really excited to hear from Catherine, who is the producer and host, and Amanda, who is the contestant, about how it was. For anyone who missed the live show, give us the juicy rundown. What exactly is the X Factor and what made it such a wild ride from the start?
I can definitely get started here. The X Factor, essentially a live dating game show where, I don't know, had this crazy idea with my producer, Joe, and we wanted to be able to bridge our expertise in hosting a bunch of dating events, but also bridge the gap between live events and reality TV. And I thought, okay, wouldn't it be fun if we hosted a dating game show, but have one of the contestants date one of their exes? He was like, oh my God, this sounds like a great idea. I was, too bad it can't be me. I don't talk to any of my exes. I block all of them except for one. I only talked to one ex that I dated when I was 19, but everyone else blocked, even on LinkedIn. But I bet you we're in the age of situationships. I bet you we'll find someone. We were trying to figure out how do we go about casting. And I was having a conversation with Amanda, and I was like, you know what? Amanda would be great to be the star for the show, because why not help her find love?
Yes.
Let's bring in some of the kink sex positivity elements to the show too. And then the X Factor was born.
Amazing. That's awesome. Amanda, what about from your perspective? How did you feel when Catherine approached you to be on the show?
Well, I know anything Catherine does, it's going to be fun and wild. There's never going to be a dull moment, so I love a good time, and I'll take a risk. Take me on a journey, Catherine. I was super excited because I like trying new ways to date. I've never done this, and some of the stuff I'm doing is obviously not working. I am still single, and I thought, let me give this a go. I knew from the very start it was going to be something fun to be part of, and I would regret it if I didn't do it.
Yes, amazing. And 3 dominant men, one of them was your ex. How did you feel about those dynamics playing out on stage, and the fact that one of them was going to be an ex of yours?
Friends with a lot of my exes. I
Okay.
talk to
You're
almost
the
all of
opposite.
them. We're the polar opposite. The more friends, the better. Oh, we didn't work out this way, but there were so many parts of you that I enjoyed. I don't want to get rid of all of those things. I was okay with it. Obviously, there's nerves. What's going to happen here? What you're really nervous about, or at least I was am I setting myself up for embarrassment? Because I'm not a perfect partner either.
Mm,
And you never know what's going to be pulled
right.
out about you when a mirror is held up.
Yes, live with a
Yes,
full
live in
audience.
front of people.
And also on camera forever.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I will tell you though, the blindfold made it so easy to just be myself. The blindfold helped a lot because I felt so safe and secure when I couldn't see anybody else. It was a little bit of a mind fuck. Can I say that?
Yeah. That's
To take it off.
really cool.
But yeah,
Yes,
I wasn't expecting how fun it was really going to be. I had a blast.
it was interesting actually watching you take it off. It was like
It
did you
reality crashed hard. I was
Uh-huh.
really like, "Oh my god." I went through the entire show in my head while standing up there. "Oh my gosh, what did I say? Here are the people." It's so much easier when you're blindfolded. I would highly actually recommend blindfolded dating. It like allows
Okay.
you to release any inhibitions.
That's amazing. Try it out, everyone who's listening, and let us know how it goes. Did you know, or did you have hopes of which ex it would be? Or there's some that you were more interested in it being on versus not? And at what point did you realize which ex was on the stage?
I didn't realize. I thought I knew, but then the kiss, I was like, "Wait, that kiss felt sort of familiar, but not really."
Okay.
Right? And I was just, it's not that. I had moments with all of them where I was like, "Wait, this is so familiar," or this feeling, or how I'm being touched. I don't know. I've dated a lot. The sample size is so large, it made it really difficult. I also think that's what
That's
made it a
amazing.
fun thing for me because I don't know who it could be. I've even had a couple of breakups in the last year because I
Mm.
was long-term dating someone for 7.5 years. That was my one rule. I cannot be that person. Other than that, there were some people, I guess, I was like, I wouldn't mind. And then there were others where I was like, oh my gosh, that would be the worst thing ever. But I would have known immediately, I think, for those
Yeah,
people because, some things were just so recent.
that makes sense. That makes sense. And Catherine, you were the mastermind, the
Yes.
ringleader of this whole shenanigans. Like, you went into a little bit of this, but like, tell us more about what sparked your idea to turn a blind dating show, literally, as we said, into a live onstage experience.
I really, like you were saying with experience, I like to create experiences for people. I want people to go on
Mm.
a journey and a journey that's fun and unexpected and maybe learn something from it. So, even crafting this show, going through figuring out what specific segments would be there, creating the questionnaire that I initially sent to Amanda on trying to determine compatibility and how we were screening for casting for the men to be on the show. Everything was designed with very intention because I wanted to create an experience for people that took them somewhere where they haven't been before. I know that dating shows it's nothing new, right? They've been around for a
Mhm.
while. Dating game shows, I feel like, are getting a little bit more in this field, but they're still so very vanilla. Okay, if we're already doing something that's a little crazy and we're going in sex positive, why don't we go full into kink and let's have our first segment be about spanking, which will help enliven one of Amanda's like biggest fantasies and kinks. So like why not just start with that? And I feel like it was cool too seeing some of the audience members were very much part of the kink and BDSM like lifestyle community. Then there are some people in the audience that were very vanilla and had no experience with that,
Mhm.
but it was a crowd pleaser. Like everyone that was there truly enjoyed it. I even invited some friends last minute, like 2 hours before. I gave them no context and they're like, damn, this is a good show. Would you have come if I told you that there was going to be flogging on stage? And they said probably not. And I'm like,
That's
wow.
amazing. Well, let me just say you made an impact on stage in more ways than one.
But
Like, as I mean, as an audience member, like, we were all captivated, rolling around, laughing the entire time. Like, just the synergy and the energy on stage, like between you two, between Amanda
what
and
are
the
flirting?
contestants. I mean, hello.
Still haunted by Catherine telling the entire audience that I'm a squirter. And I don't know why. I'm pretty open about myself sexually, but something about everyone knowing that I squirt I was shocked.
That was gonna be something that you didn't like. Hey, if I had that magical quality, I would tell everyone and their mom and their grandpa. Hey, by the way, I'm a squirter, clean up in aisle 5. I can't squirt. I haven't, not yet. But no, I would get a billboard. Once I learned how to squirt, I would put it up in Times Square. Why not? That's amazing. You're a mythical creature.
Set you up with some of my exes then. The ones who have like delivered time and time again on the squirting.
Okay.
There you go. Love this twist. I love this.
Yes,
Amazing.
actually. All right. But it's funny.
And even the contestants, like themselves, like they had like this like they were hyping each other up. It was really interesting in the way that they would like look at each other, or they had each other's backs, which I thought was
I
fun
feel
to
like
see
they
as well.
developed a little bit of a bromance too on stage.
They
And none of these men
did.
knew each other in everyday life. None of them.
Yeah. And now they're probably having brunch today.
You got a different perspective than I did because I was not, maybe I wasn't paying as much attention, but I'm sure there were looks and smiles between them. There were these nonverbal things because verbally, I didn't catch that. In fact, I caught one neg in the middle of it, so I wasn't sure. I do know at the end, I saw them all hugging each other after. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, it was just the whole thing. And then the Sultan room too, the stage is just, it was beautiful. It was spectacular. Check, check, and check. Amazing.
Yeah, I loved that venue too. Part of why we chose that over some other venues is knowing that Netflix and HBO actually rent out that space for some of their content. So I was, if we're going to do this right and deliver something that can live both as an in-person live event and something that transcends that to TV, why not go with the best and like what's going to look good on camera?
Amazing. The minute you walk in, I was just like, this is going to be good. And I mean, I knew it was going to be good because Catherine and Amanda, but the ambiance was next level.
No, all Catherine. Catherine's show up and down. All she did was she asked good questions. She put a chair up on stage, asked good questions, and just let chaos unfold. That is her strength, by the way. Just a little sprinkle of Catherine, and it's full chaos.
The Gemini, what can I say? I'm a shit starter.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And coordinate together, and it's going to be amazing. I love it. And so going back to this aspect of kink, Amanda, you're the kink consultant, like you're a huge advocate, obviously an educator of kink. And you mentioned the squirting and how that everybody knowing that it's like, ooh. But how did it feel to bring and be the contestant and having kink like on stage in front of everyone?
It was something I was really proud of. My mission in life is to de-shamify and destigmatize kink, and it's something that's super important to me. So to be able to be up there, for Catherine to create a space where it was accepted and celebrated meant a lot, and to be part of it was a no-brainer because of that. I just like showing, we got to sprinkle in a little education, but also demo and show how fun it could be, and funny. It didn't need to be this very serious thing. We had fun with it, and that's very much what kink is like. So I really loved that aspect being put on display in a really normalized way.
Amazing. And those demos were hot.
They were so hot. I mean, maybe one of my favorite parts, and there were so many great parts, but of course I loved the spanking part, and I loved that it was like that right out of the gate too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why not start with a little fantasy?
Yeah.
I love that.
Really,
I love
can I say more on that? Like, I even over time of doing this work, I used to be very boundary focused. And then I realized actually, I want to be more fantasy forward and fantasy focused so that we can get that out of the way and then massage out the details, including boundaries. And that's kind of how Catherine set it up too. Okay, we're going to go into spanking. She announces that. Quick note on boundaries, spanking. Do you know what I mean? So we were able to play with the fantasy first, as opposed to just putting up a lot of roadblocks. And I loved the flow of it because it went in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And Catherine, I'd be interested to hear, because you mentioned like the audience was some people who are like very familiar and know the kink scene, and then some that like have no exposure. You mentioned some of the feedback, but like did Did you get any specific feedback of people who, like, were introduced to kink for the first time?
I don't know if they were just introduced to kink for the first time. I would say they probably don't identify with being in the scene or in the
Got
lifestyle
it.
or identifying with being part of the kink community in terms of what they do in the bedroom on their own time. I have no idea. A lot of people I find, even because with private clients and stuff like that, I work with a lot of people who identify as more vanilla, but they've even tried some of the stuff. I don't know if they've never tried spanking or flogging before, but a lot of them probably have never seen it publicly happen on a stage in front of them during a
Yeah.
curated experience and having it be so in your face. But also, I think it was tastefully done while still being erotic and a fun, kind of like a fun group project. We're all we're all here to make it a good experience.
Yes, and it was interesting because all three of the Dom contestants had a different, I don't want to say skill level, but maybe skill level, but also different approach to the impact play and kink in general, which I thought was really interesting to see as well.
Totally, they really did. Can I say more on that too, Catherine? Sorry.
Yes.
On those 3 contestants, there were 3 very different approaches, and to Catherine's point, I think a lot of people are interested in power dynamics, have played with it in different ways. It might not be the physical impact, but they do identify as vanilla, okay? And then when you take that a little bit further to the 3 contestants we had, 3 people who practice kink in a very different way, and that's the variety that there is, and that's why it makes it so hard to define what kink is and what it isn't. And then
Yes.
equally, that's the complexity in finding your match, because you can't just say kinky. It's like, okay, we have one person who's
Mhm.
probably much more of a sexual dom, one who's more of a pleasure dom, and then another who's into more of a top type of energy as opposed to the psychological side of it, which is of interest, like an interest to me as well. But like within that, and I've probably said a lot of words that people who are not as kink familiar might not know, but the point is there are it is a spectrum, and not only are you looking for someone on the spectrum, you need them to match or at least be compatible with where
Yes.
you are on the spectrum. That's what makes kinky dating a little bit more difficult, and why I was so happy to get Catherine's help on the project of finding me a partner.
Yes, that's amazing. I love that.
Well, I think with that too, sexual compatibility was a huge focus for the show in general and highlighting
Mhm.
that a lot of people, a lot of vanilla couples, sexual incompatibility and finances are the top 2 reason why couples split up
Yep.
across the board. And when we think about in traditional vanilla type dating scenarios, the dating apps, whatever, most people don't start having conversations about sex until either right before they're planning on having it and it's very minimal, or it's years down the line where they're realizing they're having unfulfilling sexual encounters. They're not actually experiencing pleasure. That's why a lot of women fake orgasms. When in reality, if we are able to look at how sexual compatibility is a part of compatibility for like a long term relationship in general, and the nuance between what Amanda was saying, it's you can be kinky and be dominant, but maybe it's not the right kind of dominance. And again, I do think there needs to be like some flexibility in some of these things, because when we think of compatibility, a lot of us think we have this checklist of 30 things that we need to get off in our ideal partner. That person on paper might be in front of you and on paper they're perfect, but in reality
Yes.
you're actually, this gives me the fucking ick. I hate
Yes.
this about this person. Like, I don't want that, or I thought I wanted this, but I actually wanted this. We as humans who are dating and engaging in relationships need to give ourselves flexibility and then give flexibility to our potential partners and give space and room for exploration even beyond what we thought we wanted or what we know. Because even as someone who's been in kink for a while, I know this show was helping Amanda find her match, but I know my sexuality and my desires and how that fits into power play and kink, that's changed
Mhm.
dramatically. I had my first service sub when I was 21, and how I operated in that is very different than how I operate now.
Yeah.
It gets to be ever evolving and changing, and it can change partner to partner. You might be really into one thing with one
Yes.
person, but then there's a new partner that's into that, and that might inspire a new interest that was not even something you wanted on the table previously.
Yes, it's just so delicious. And when you were talking about like communication and when people have these conversations, some people never have them, like ever. And where they don't know where to turn, don't have the language. That's why I like love all of the work that you guys are doing, because we need this. We need it loud and proud. We need, it to be accessible for people to really break down those barriers and understand that like we can have these conversations and how beneficial it is, and like centering that at the beginning of dating instead of all of a sudden we're, riding the train of societal quote unquote norms or what we've heard in society, which is not very helpful when it comes to sex.
Not very accurate. What society says is normal or common, so inaccurate when you actually get into conversations with multiple people. You're like, normal's the biggest lie we've ever been sold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, no,
1,000%.
truthfully. I even know, reflecting on my own dating experiences, I started having sex pretty early, but I didn't start having conversations about sex and my desires until I was 24. That's 10 years of having subpar sexual experiences where I was maybe coming 0 or 1 times. I thought I was being sexually empowered and I was seeking novelty situations. I was very into like public or semi-public, whatever, risky places, hooking up with random people. I thought it was amazing. And then when I started having conversations about what I actually wanted, when I started demanding receiving oral, when I started actually having a vetting process before I agreed to go on dates with people, that's when I realized I'm multi-orgasmic. That's when I realized I like having 30 or more orgasms every time I'm with a partner. So, but without giving the space for a conversation, I had to like really work on eliminating some of that shame, because before that I was afraid to have these conversations because I was afraid that I was going to alienate the person in front of me, that if they're not into the things that I'm into, they're going to reject me. And that's horrifying. And another layer of that too is growing up as a bigger woman too. I was, okay, if I'm needing the validation from these men to make me feel good, I don't want to say something that's going to turn them off. I'm going to take the crumbs that I can have. By having those conversations, that helped me feel more confident in my body and expressing and experiencing pleasure. So like the earlier on, the better. And now that's a non-negotiable. I have all these conversations before I even agree to go on a date. And I haven't had bad sex in a very long time.
Yes. Amazing.
Can I speak to something Catherine said? And I don't know how Catherine feels about this, but I think part of, okay, obviously it sucks to be rejected, but I also think society puts on us this thing that you're nothing if a man doesn't want you and accept you. So do everything you can. Whereas no one's saying that about friendships. No one's saying if you can't find a supportive group of women, and that's a harsh thing to say too, though, then your life is going to be less enjoyable. And I think that's actually more true than needing a man in your life.
Yeah,
It's a
'cause we need
network of
community.
women. Yes. And I just think that it's that same fear of being rejected by women isn't built in because society hasn't been pushing that. Anyway, that came up for me when Catherine shared that, because I'm like, oh yeah, I feel that too. It's so relatable to be, how do I make myself palatable to this man across the table? How do I say, pick me, choose me? And it's no, why do you deserve to get me in your life? Is a better
Yeah.
question that Catherine is basically saying now.
So
Yeah,
relatable.
and I truly have flipped the script with that. Instead of going on dates and wondering, oh, does this person like me? It's, do I like them? I'm treating these dates as an audition for my affection. I am the company that's hiring for a role, and how do you fit into what my needs are? Yes, that has made me very inconvenient for a lot of men because I don't tolerate shit anymore. Just thinking of the things I tolerated when I was in my mid-20s versus now. But it also makes dating more empowering because it's, okay, I'm looking for people that can fit into my desires, my needs, instead of shrinking myself to fit into a man's expectations. I'm now flipping the script and doing the opposite, which in itself is revolutionary because society tells us as women, we're conditioned from childhood. Even if you think about gendered toys and how little girls play with baby dolls and play house and this and that and all of the fake cleaning supplies. Little boys don't have the cleaning supplies and they're told that they're gay if they're playing house with the kitchen. Like, what the fuck? So it's, women are conditioned from such a young age to make yourselves fit into a man's ideal world. And really coming back to the show too, putting Amanda at the forefront of the show, putting kink and sexual pleasure and autonomy at the forefront, and making it be, okay, what is your ideal fantasy of a partner? How can we create a situation where something like this is possible, and then make it palatable so the general public can know that this is possible for them too? This is revolutionary. It's putting this at the forefront, having the conversations friends at the beginning, making it more accessible to people who never thought that this was possible.
The heavens have opened.
Yes. I
It's
also
amazing.
I'm very passionate.
I know, no, and I want to celebrate. You were very passionate, but like, your whole thing of you're the company hiring. Anyone who's ever hired anyone knows it sucks to have an open role for a really long time. But do you know what sucks more? Having to fire the person you trained who was never the right fit in the first place. I'm going to start taking on that view of things in general of I'm the company hiring. Let's have a symbiotic relationship, but only if you're the right fit. And I don't even do that in general.
So maybe we need to have some accountability.
No, I hate accountability. I like spankings and punishment, but actual accountability never.
Do we
I
need
love it. You're
a
like,
do we
"In the
need a
background."
gold star chart for
Yes. And a
vetting
paddle.
process? Dating
No, the
with
vetting
check-ins and
process
gold
I
stars.
have. But that's staying friends with everyone that I date.
Yeah,
I love
why?
to
Why
give
do you do
everyone
that?
I don't because I
No.
I develop friendships with people on top of the relationship. It's never just one or the other. And sometimes I'm not. There are certain ones I'm not friends with. I feel that if I put up with disrespect in the relationship, okay, they didn't respect me enough in the relationship. That's not the type of friend I want either. I'm never just ending it without a conversation. So if I tried to fix it and it didn't work, then yeah, I'm not going to be friends with those people. I guess saying I'm friends with all my exes is not actually fair, but most of them.
Yeah, I'm the
Yeah.
opposite. I have to block men on LinkedIn.
I don't know. I'm like out of sight, out of mind. So once I remove them from the relationship path of my life, you're in this adjacent lane. Hello. Every so often I'll see you and we'll hang out, but you're just not in this lane anymore.
See, the
But I
blocking is more for them than for me because once I'm done, I'm done. But they don't get the picture, so they will create Finstas or burner phone numbers. I know that my pussy is hypnotic and they always want to come back. But yeah, they always come back in some sort of way. I have to block them everywhere. I have a lot of choice words. Even for people that ended amicably, if it's done, it's done. And I don't look to the past, which is funny that I created this whole show looking to the past
It
and
is
giving
funny,
a
but,
second
like,
chance. Because me personally, I'm like, yeah,
perfect for me though.
Yeah. You speak to that, Catherine. Why did you choose to have, I mean, the whole show's called The X Factor, but like this X component to it?
really some of that too was in the culture that we're in right now, situationship culture with the murky boundaries when it comes to relationships. And I'm in grad school for clinical psychology. So what was interesting to me is, okay, how many people actually would be down to give an ex another chance? And also, when we put compatibility into it and in all different types, is this past person someone that actually truly is compatible, or are you better suited for someone else? Now, a lot of people there were a bunch of studies too that I was looking through to see even if this is something that would make sense. I forget what the actual stat was. I think 70% of people would be down to get with an ex again. I don't think it defines exactly the context of the type of relationship. It would probably be a higher stat if you're talking about people that you've had casual sexual relationships with or a situationship versus someone that was a romantic heterosexual relationship. If we put in poly dynamics and non-monogamy, obviously that's pretty wide. And then I think it was 40% of people have gotten back with an ex. This is also me past me. I've definitely very much been the person has been on and off again with partners and had the emotional whiplash that came with giving people a second chance because the feelings are there. That's typically why people will go back with someone, is the familiarity, where this is an opportunity for an experiment to see, does this work? Is relationships, if you're getting back with an ex or giving an ex another chance, the only reason why it would work now where it didn't in the past is if the obstacle that prevented you from moving forward is no longer there, and if both or all parties have done effort to grow and change that. So it's not to say you can't get back with an ex and have a good experience. You absolutely can. But whatever the obstacle was at the beginning that was preventing things from working, if it's still there, it's still not going to work.
Yeah.
That's bringing the psychology element into it. I was very curious to see, okay, can things work if it's in the right environment? And also adding in some elements too of the blindfolding, the this, the that. Okay, if we put on a platter people who on paper would be very compatible, would this sway Amanda's decision making too?
But growth growth is the important part there. You need to grow past it. And I think one of the reasons a lot of my
Yes.
relationships have ended is because I was triggered in a certain situation, and that person may never change. I would always be triggered, or I may never change. The older I've gotten, the better my language has become and my ability to know myself and problem solve with partners. That's why there are certain exes, especially the most recent ones, they don't fit with who I am now. I'm a firm believer in right person, wrong time. And wrong time might actually be that you're just not where you are on your own journey to make that person work.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. I love all of this. So glad that I got to witness a live experiment on stage. And speaking of stage, let's bring it back there. Were there any moments, Amanda, where you thought, okay, this is getting a little too real? Or was it all fun and games the whole time?
Well, yeah, when Catherine told everyone I squirted. No, I'm like, I'm fine for everyone to know I'm kinky, but to know how my body operates sexually, not so much, which I'm mostly joking about, but it is a difference in Catherine, the type of things you talk about. You tell many people
Yes.
you're multi-orgasmic. I am not multi-orgasmic to your level, but I definitely have multiple orgasms most of the time I have sex. And it's just never come up because that's not the content I do. It's not what I put out there. And it's not necessarily a secret. It's just a shock factor of like, oh, whoa, everyone knows this now. I feel exposed, which I kind of enjoy too. There's an element of enjoying it. When the blindfold came off, it got so real. The blindfold was this amazing curtain that I was able to hide behind and forget that I was actually there and people were looking at me. It was all fun and games until the blindfold came off. And it wasn't bad. It was a huge shock to my system.
And it was very visual. That shock was like very visual. I caught it on camera.
I
Yeah,
appreciate everyone who did that.
it was like 2 minutes where it felt like brain cells were loading.
Yeah, I know, Catherine. And Catherine was like, we were over time. We need to finish this fucking thing. But I'm like trying to assess, okay, here's this guy I know. Let's go through every moment together. Did we end because I did something bad? Are we friendly enough? How bad is this situation right now? Because you're assessing everything in real time and nothing prepares you for that. Of like, okay. But the kiss was so good that it made it so worth it. I was like, okay, cool.
So wild. And also right before, so yes, the kiss,
The
this
switch
kiss is
up
what turned
at
the
the
table.
end.
But you actually had selected a different contestant.
No, because all I was really going on with, I did this, like, I think people may have thought that this was scripted or something. It wasn't. I felt terrible for what I did, making someone think they won and then pulling it away. What a horrible thing to do.
But you gotta follow your heart, and that's what you
I
did.
did.
And I'm
I
so
did.
proud of you. You're doing amazing, sweetie.
I really just was like, the sadness at losing the kiss and that that connection, there was just something there that I couldn't do without. And then in the end, it made sense to me. Even though that kiss was not exactly familiar, I thought, oh, if I had a kisser like that, I'd remember that. That chemistry was insane. I'm really happy with the decision I made and who I did go with, even though I feel guilty for the dramatic switch up at the end. It was sort of like a compatibility thing about the kink. Okay, when we talked about the spectrum, the person I originally, the fake choice, there was a lot of compatibility there. But when we talk about chemistry or even behavior in previous relationships, examples that were shared, in the end, I thought the person at the end is a much more suitable partner for me and a great kisser, as opposed to just also going with the like, oh, I think the kink thing lines up completely. You realize, yeah, that it's a combo. You can't just have one.
Yeah. And this is so common in dating, right? Where we're like assessing this. And it was just like on speed, on a stage, like
Yeah.
second. You're like, this show is really wrapping up. You got to make a decision now.
I know,
Like,
it was
90
hard.
minutes, you're dating multiple people blindfolded. So we skipped past, like, I don't know, the first 3 weeks of dating 3 people in 90 minutes.
And there were some really great questions asking about family. Family is super important to me. My family was in the audience, maybe too close sometimes, but we are a very close family. Hearing about other people who would mention their family and things like that and their interest in culture, it was all really, those were important things that Catherine was able to weave into it that created the balance of I'm getting a better idea of who this is as a person.
And your sister even came up on stage and asked some questions,
bless
which I
her.
felt a brilliant twist.
Yeah. She asked good questions. So your family know more about you than you're willing to admit that you don't know about yourself. Do you know what I mean? They see the mistakes I've made or just, the questionable things where they're like, this doesn't make sense for her because she's on her own little journey. I love a shiny thing. a good kiss, a good spanking. And they know I'm on my own journey, but your family are able to bring you back down to reality quicker than maybe anybody else. I love being close enough to them that we have a relationship where they're some of my best friends, my two
I
sisters.
love that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I'm reliving. I literally, you guys, after the show, I was watching the videos over and over and like making other people watch them, the ones that I took. And I was like telling everyone about it. Like, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. So I can't wait for the people who are listening, for more people to see this show because it's just so, so good. And
My
like, I'm
God.
reliving it in my head as we're talking through it.
I know.
Like,
I'm very excited to get the clips back from the video editor so we can start publishing them because
Well, I'm
this
excited
is
too.
excellent, excellent chef's kiss of a show. Very
yes,
fun.
definite pats on your back.
You produced a great show. It was so
You
fun.
did.
You put it together beginning to end, and it was I mean, there were times when I questioned myself of, "Oh, Amanda, what have you gotten yourself into?" As we got closer. I did because I was like, "This is crazy. This is crazy. Whose
So
idea was
crazy as
this?"
this might work.
Might work. Yes, yes.
And I mean, it did.
It did.
All right. Okay. Yes. And Catherine, can you speak to like the production a little bit? How much was this about creating a show, or how much of it was about saying like we need to change the script on dating and how dating's approached?
Both were happening concurrently. As someone who has been active in the space, as someone that creates content in the space, as someone who has a huge audience, my audience is mostly TikTok. Most of my audience online is millennial women, and now lately, over the last few years, a lot of Gen Z women who don't know how to date. Gen Z is the generation that's not having sex. They're not having
Yeah.
conversations about sex. They're really fucking awkward. Okay, if I can produce a show that appeals to generally the millennial audience, also have a female lead that is in her mid 30s, because all of these other dating shows that exist, we're inundated with so many different shows that have dysfunctional dynamics, that have a cast that's 25 or younger before their prefrontal cortex is developed, meaning they still got some growing to do. You're putting all these, they're not children, but young adults on a show to find long-term relationships, and you don't even know what the fuck you want. When I was 24, I was having a mental breakdown, and I completely did a whole career pivot, creating a space where it empowers people to realize you can find love at any age. Your eggs aren't dried up. You're not worthless after 30, because look at Amanda, fucking hot. And
Hot,
knows what she wants
sexy.
and has the confidence and knows how to communicate it. And so to me, it was very important to infuse all of these elements into it, with the production of the show, with designing the segments,
Yes.
with having a balance between finding the more vanilla types of compatibility with weaving in the sexual compatibility, because that is important, and it's important to have that there. So producing a show that can appeal to a wide range of age ranges that would be interested in watching something like this, and then also help provide some of the knowledge and the language and the teaching moments too, with even the spanking and the flogging and where on your body to do that, because there's so much
Yeah.
misinformation out there, especially in kink and sex positivity. While I think it's so amazing that there's access, I wish I had TikTok when I was in high school, because it would have made a lot of
Right.
things so much easier for me to have access to sex education. But there's also so much misinformation out there. And also, with even though Gen Z isn't really dating, isn't really having sex, there's a huge rise of people doing choking as a casual kink light experience, when choking is anything but light. It has the
Yeah.
potential to
Yeah.
really harm people, and there's no safe way to choke. So by having something that can have a teaching moment, blend in the fun, the entertainment, and then make people believe that you can find love regardless of how niche you think that your desires are, that's what I
Yeah.
was trying to create here with this show.
So many like fucking fabulous layers. Yes, yes,
I know.
yes.
Can we just like, yes, 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 that
It
I
was
don't
the
have your
art of your
beautiful voice,
science.
but like Catherine, more people need to be listening to Catherine. Everything she like she's an amazing woman. It's one of the
Yes.
main reasons I did the show. Catherine's doing something, I want to be part of it. Absolutely. For this reason, she has such vision of what's wrong and what needs to be fixed in dating as a culture. One of the things that really shocks me is, yes, now we're talking about how Gen Z aren't having a lot of sex, but they're also the generation who has more information than anybody else because they have access to Instagram and the reels and the TikToks. But for some reason, it's not translating in the same way. That part does boggle my mind of so much information, so little action.
Well, I
Yes.
think the
Ooh.
fear of rejection definitely plagues Gen Z, especially. They're not
Ooh,
shooting
yeah.
shots. They're afraid to shoot their shot, so afraid of rejection. I think COVID made things very challenging because in the formative years where in high school or college where you would be in person with people, they didn't have that. So missing a lot of the social cues and interactions that you get when you're dating people. I do think in a lot of ways it's helpful that there's so much more of a culture of non-drinking and like zero proof because when I had 3 years sober in my mid-20s in LA and like that was unheard of back then. I think it's great. They don't have the club culture. They don't have the hookup culture in the way that as like millennials, like I was such a slut. I started hooking up with people at 14. I had my first threesome at 15. I was crazy and very happy and enjoyed that, but they didn't really get to have that experience. While education can be powerful, they're also inundated with all of these messages from reality TV in a way is showing them that everything is commodified in a way. People are coming on these shows because they want exposure, and it's not showing accurate depictions of relationships. So if the examples of relationships that they're seeing is through reality TV or scripted TV or movies, they're not actually able to see examples of what it takes to go through the dating process accurately. And everything is optimized for short little clips for the attention span.
Yes.
But I really do think the fear of rejection, and a lot of them are so in their online communities too, even friendships. A lot of them seem very, very lonely because they're so afraid of rejection that they don't even want to put themselves out there when it comes to creating friendships. Without that baseline of community and understanding and like, I don't know, making friends is the same as dating. You have to put yourself out there. You
Yeah.
have to risk rejection. You have to give I know in some ways we're always putting our best foot forward. I know I am a different version of myself with different friend groups depending on what that friend group is like or whatnot, but we have to risk vulnerability in order to receive connection, intimacy. And without that
Yeah.
risk, there's no reward. And a lot of Gen Z is just so afraid of the risk that they don't get to the next phase.
There's your clip, Aimee. That
Yeah.
little bit just right there is your clip.
Yes. Preach. Taking us to church this Sunday. Amazing. And my mind is going in
I know because
1,000.
we're here about the show that we did, but we're like, "Oh, this is the problem. This is what we're trying to save the world over." Well, not Catherine's trying to save the world. I was just like, yeah, I'll talk about my dating life publicly.
Yeah. And you're both influencers, you're both coaches. Like Catherine, you're going into the psychology piece, which is really coming out too, and how you're talking about this show. It's just so fabulous. And I would love to, we've talked about your role as a producer and creator, but can we also give you your flowers for the role as the host? The way that you like held the audience. And I love how you were just talking about community. And we were literally in a community watching this dating experiment happening in front of us. Your ability to hold the audience, feed off your and Amanda's synergy as well as the contestants. It was beautiful. It was so badass. And I would love you to tell us a little bit more about that. And Amanda as the contestant.
Yeah, with hosting, so a lot of people don't know this, but like I have a background in like musical theater back in my youth. So I did
All
acting
right.
from like a very, very young age. I even did like back in the day, there was this like acting course. It's very much an MLM, I'm pretty sure, but called like Barbizon, where it's like acting and modeling training, and they try to help you get agents and managers and whatnot. I did all of this at a young age. I always knew that I was going to be a star from a young age. I was built for the
Ooh,
camera. I was
yes.
built to be famous. That was always in the cards for me. Um, and when it comes to hosting, I was a little nervous because it's been a while since I've been in that sort of environment. And I know this is not musical theater. This is a live dating show. But I was a little nervous. I was like, okay, in the last like few years, I've done a lot of public speaking in like smaller audiences of like 10, bigger audiences of like 200 plus, but it's been more focused on like education and, you know, research and psychology and providing value in that way. I was a little nervous. Am I going to be rusty? Like, I know I'm a funny person, and a lot of it is like quick comedic timing, like in the moment. I had cue cards. I actually ended up cutting an entire section out of the show for timing. We didn't even
Okay.
get into the astrology section. That was a little challenging
Ooh.
as a host. In the moment, I was like, fuck, we don't have time. I'm just going to skip it. I was freaking out as the host. I hope no one's noticing if I have a pause of 30 seconds to try to figure out how I'm going to transition from this section to this section. But I love feeding into the energy of the audience. That was something that was so important to me. Even who we invited to come in the space, I want people who genuinely wanted to be there, who would enjoy seeing the elements of kink, who would be interacting with us. That's why several points through that was part of a production decision, but producer and host having audience interaction, having them give feedback on like who they liked as the contestant as we went through the show. I wanted that give and take with the audience because that's what makes them feel more connected to the experience too.
Yeah.
And Catherine does a really good job. First of all, there were no 30-second breaks. It didn't feel like there was even a 3-second break while she figured out whatever she was figuring out. It was so quick.
No, I was like, you know that meme where she's
was
like
like,
figuring out the math
Yes,
problem? I felt like that the entire 90-minute show. I was like, oh, if I
that's
do this,
so
then this,
funny
and this.
because you were so present. And that's what I want to call out. This is one of my favorite things about Catherine is in real time, she will call out exactly how she's feeling because it's actually what everyone's feeling. Someone will say something and Catherine will be like, yeah, that's weird. Right? And we're all thinking that. And she
Yeah.
says it out loud. And then it just, the room erupts in laughter because
Yes.
that is what we're
Well,
all
no one
thinking. And she
expects.
says
No one
it.
expects it. No one expects
No,
it. Like, yeah, I'm
even
gonna
though
call
we're
it
all
out for
thinking
sure.
it. Yes,
I
and I
love
love
it.
that's just one random example, but like I have from being friends with Catherine, 50 examples of times she has done that with me, times I'm saying something and she's like, "Oh, I'm picking up what you're putting down." And she synthesizes it so well and I'm, "Oh my God, you couldn't have said this in a funnier way. You couldn't have." I tell people
That's so
many
Catherine.
stories. Yeah. But I love that
She's
she also
fabulous.
that's who she is and she puts that on stage. Catherine, that's who Catherine is day to day. The host we saw,
Yeah.
that is her as a friend. That is her in social situations, private situations. I love that you packaged it. And to me, you just got on stage and you had logistics to figure out, but you were just yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't
so
acting.
cute.
I feel the element of that was more of, okay, I'm gonna enunciate whatever, whatever. But no, I definitely was being myself. And I don't know, I think I'm funny as fuck.
You are.
You are. You are.
And it came
There's
across.
no There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that for sure. Well, I know we've talked about this kind of throughout, but I would love to dig a little bit deeper on the fact that kink and dominance was literally front and center stage and understanding bisexual preferences front and center.
And I'm not going to take it, but Catherine said this earlier, and it's just so true. Incompatibility is one of the top reasons people are breaking up. So why isn't it one of the first things we're aligning on to minimize our chance of breaking up with someone? Or to maximize our chance of being the right fit. Go ahead. I just had to get that out. Catherine, take it away.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think in the case with Amanda too, we've been friends for a while and just even having casual conversations as friends about the journey dating and how it's tough to date kinky and this and that. And I was just, okay, so what if we flip the script and put that very forward at the beginning? When it comes to compatibility too, this is something that I teach and I have a free, I don't know if it's free right now. It might be a low cost compatibility guide where I go into the 6 different types of compatibility. And there's emotional compatibility, there's sexual compatibility, there's intellectual compatibility, there's financial compatibility, and then there's cultural compatibility. All of these things are very important. If you look at the well-rounded view of relationships, all elements need to be there, but you as an individual have to determine the weight of each of these different types and what actually is important to you at this moment in time before you're even having conversations and going on dates with these people. A lot of people don't spend enough time finding that clarity for themselves. When it comes to dating, a lot of us, especially as we get older, as we're in our 30s, in some ways, we might feel like, okay, we're getting older. I know I want kids. I'm 32. Should I just settle for someone who hits some of these things, but not all of them? Versus, okay, I've been
Mhm.
single for this long. Let me actually be crystal fucking clear on what I want and not settle and know that it's possible to find that, even if it takes a little bit longer. That's what's missing in a lot of things, that people are so afraid of being alone. On one end of the spectrum, people are afraid of vulnerability and rejection, so they don't put themselves out there. On the other end of the spectrum, people are so afraid of being alone that they settle for situations that don't work for them, which is why we have our situationship culture. But when we're not having conversations about all of these things very early on, I am the opposite. I'm providing the script of the opposite of what all of these dating coaches, gurus, whatever tell you to do. I'm telling you, talk about sex, politics, religion, money
Mm.
on a first date. Get it all out at the beginning. Better
Yes.
yet, do some vetting on the apps or when you initially meet them. I want to know your abortion stance. I want to know who you voted for. I want to know how you view money and if you think this is going to be 50-50, because if that is it, I'm out. No, I want a
Mhm.
generous lover. I want someone that's generous with their time, money, and energy, because I am also that. Figuring out your top values is also important when having these conversations. Back to the kink and the sexuality, so much pain would be not that you'll avoid all pain, but a lot of the challenges that come with relationships. I know I work with a lot of people. I'd say it's 50-50 in terms of people who are single versus in long-term relationships. Those who come to me who are in long-term relationships come to me because they've spent years with their partner and they're afraid of what their partner is going to think if they actually
Yeah.
reveal the kinks and sexual desires that they have. They feel like there's more to
Mhm.
risk in the relationship if they share their needs. They're afraid of potential fallout that's going to happen if their partner thinks their desires are weird. Versus, if you think about it, if you back all the way up to the beginning of a relationship within the first month or so, this is a fresh page. This is a new
Yeah.
book. You get to write the script together. You get to write the pages together. If you figure it out from the beginning and figure out, okay, we're actually really into this, that sets you up for potentially having a very fulfilling sex life and something that can help make the other parts of your relationship even better, versus feeling you have to shrink yourself to fit into the mold that you thought you needed to be in to have a relationship. And that's why a lot of people stay in relationships that aren't fulfilling or end up cheating or
Mhm.
whatnot. Not saying that cheating is justified by that, but it just explains the behavior on why a lot of people think the relationship is so good in all these other ways, it's not worth leaving it just because I'm not sexually satisfied. I'm going to find something elsewhere, or they'll open up the relationships. I work with a lot of clients who have done that, who want to open up and pursue elsewhere. When we're able to have those conversations early on, that just provides a better opportunity for more fulfillment, more connection, more intimacy, more pleasure from the beginning. Why wouldn't you want that?
Yes. Yes. And I love to, as you were going off, amazing, giving it to us. I was thinking, and
Oh
you
yeah, I'll give
actually,
it to
yes.
you.
Yes. You said this earlier too. We need to be focusing on, rather than the rejection, there's so much energy that goes in, which is driven by anxiety. Dating can be a very anxious situation, relationships. Rather than focusing on that rejection and centering that, focus on the compatibility and bringing these conversations and these discussions. And guess what? If that's going to weed a person out, like hella fucking Luya.
Yeah.
Yes. In fact, it really simplifies things if you're weeding people. Vetting, good vetting simplifies things so much because you don't meet someone who doesn't align with your values because you never go out in the first place with them. That matters more than we give it credit for because we want to stay open-minded. Yes, you shouldn't have a rigid box of things, but if the things are super important to you and you already know it's not the right thing or in the end it's going to chip away at your interest in them, why give it a chance in the first place? It's a fantasy that, like, oh, I can get past these things. I can make it work. It's really just
Like,
wasting
why should you have
everybody's
to?
time.
Like,
Yeah.
why should
Oh,
you
that's a
have to
great
get
question too. Why should you
Yeah.
have to? I think it's,
like
for me, it's speaking personally, I shouldn't have to, but sometimes I really enjoy being in a relationship. And there's a certain pain with being single that I feel because I want to be in partnership. I want to have this other half. And then the pain of that is sometimes it feels so big that I try and soothe it with the wrong person. And I think that it's accepting that about myself, trying to break out of that pattern is the problem. That's the cycle I go through. I definitely shouldn't have to. I need to shift my mindset on that.
That's interesting. I have to say it's huge that you have that awareness for yourself because you know your patterns, and a lot of people don't. I know I didn't know mine for a long time. I'm still figuring some shit out too. It's a constant journey, but just that awareness is so huge.
Thanks. It's hard to be that vulnerable when I'm a coach and I'm guiding people, but
Mhm.
I don't have all the answers, but I do have the awareness and the ability to look inside and think, okay, what's going on here? What's really at play? And sometimes that's all you need or can ask for to help guide you to the next step and through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
We never have all of the answers. I think like that's
Mm.
something that has been how I've been able to grow my brand online and with my coaching is I probably overshare. I'm TMI constantly and I share a lot of what I'm going through and my relatability of sharing all the messy shit and that I don't have it all figured out. I know that's what made people resonate with me. Sharing all this
Yes.
stuff, even if I'm worried that it's going to make me not look like an expert. And I still deal with some of that sometimes. I'm on the opposite spectrum of you, Amanda, where I historically have been pretty avoidant and I'm very comfortable in my singleness. And do I actually, even though I desperately want to be in a relationship and find my partner and have kids and want this and want that, do I have what it takes to actually make room in my life for someone else? Am I so set in my ways to where I am in control? Can I release control to make room for a partner who I want to be an equal in my life? I don't know. It's an ever evolving thing as I'm starting to date too. We don't all have the answers. That's the beauty
Yeah,
with being in this space is giving permission. Even the experts don't know everything. We're all just humans living a human experience and relationships are so
absolutely.
complicated and we're not taught the right scripts for stuff. We're not. We have all of this conditioning from everywhere. Even though we have the knowledge, we're still humans. We're still making mistakes. We don't know
Yeah.
Yes.
everything. Even if we do know everything, we're still humans. I've definitely
Yes.
stayed with people longer than I should have, or I avoided doing things because I don't have it in me. We're just humans living a human experience.
Remembering permission to not be perfect. That's what that is. It's permission to not be perfect. And so often that's a society and cultural thing as well. This pressure you need to be
Yes.
perfect. Whew, that's heavy.
Yeah, and I always like to say to my clients, there is no perfect. Perfect is a myth. Perfect
Yeah.
is a myth.
Just like normal.
And
Normal is a myth.
yes, yes, there's no normal, there's no perfect. And honestly, by bringing your humanness early on to a relationship rather than having this facade, there's not going to be as many, not that there's not going to be surprises because there's always surprises, but it just benefits the relationship so much better. This is the realness. I'm coming at it with curiosity and yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, as we wrap up, I would love to hear from you both on if you were going to define the night or the lesson takeaway, what would that be for each of you?
It's funny because I feel like this probably seems like the antithesis to everything that I teach and preach, but it doesn't have to be so serious. You get to have fun with it. You should have
Mm.
fun with your dating experience. Yes, go through the checklist. Yes, compatibility. We all know that it doesn't always work. What works on paper doesn't necessarily work in everyday life, and just enjoy it. If you're not enjoying your dating process, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, love that. All right, Amanda, you go.
Like at first, this is why I love working with Catherine. It's interesting because it's my takeaway from the whole experience is I need, and I know this, but it really made me look in the mirror of how intentional I'm being. Catherine pushing me to answer that questionnaire. And I
Mhm.
highly recommend everyone goes and takes that low cost, purchases her low cost. Like
It's pretty cheap. It
whatever
has
it
a
is worth
screening.
it. The questions you ask yourself about compatibility and what you're looking for
Mhm.
really narrow it down and it makes it so much easier. It makes it easier to the point that if you are in a situation where you're rejected, you're also able to think it through. I wasn't on their compatibility list and I'm not going to lie to get into the box to be accepted. So, my
Yes.
favorite part of the whole process was really having to face myself and think about cultural compatibility, financial compatibility, things that I've actually broken up with people over, like cultural incompatibility that I've never put
Mhm.
a name to and then didn't go into the next relationship prioritizing. I'm like, if I know that this is something that's important to me, why am I not putting that out there? And this process I felt like I was taken on Catherine's coaching special of how she approaches this stuff.
Ah, yes.
So my favorite part was just really having my own views challenged.
That's amazing. And I'm going to put in one other question. Catherine, what is next for the X Factor?
A lot to figure out from a production side. Worked with producer Joe and Joe Worky Productions. We're still waiting on clips from our videographer and video editor. We're going to start posting clips online. We're playing around with doing another live event sometime this fall or winter, and then putting together a sizzle reel to submit to studios to hopefully get this picked up. So there's a lot of options here. Also pursuing, do we want to do just online content for this and do it on YouTube or TikTok or do live streaming and stuff like that? So there's a lot to figure out. I feel like there's so many different ways this can go. Timing is everything. And the semester's starting with, I'm in grad school.
Yeah.
That's the only thing where we both wish that we could be cranking these out all the time. There will be another one. Not locked in yet, but we're in the works.
All
We're in
right.
the works. There's a lot of moving
It's a little
pieces.
tease. It's a little
Yeah.
tease to end on.
I think
And
the
I'm
important
so
point, no, the important point is there will be another one. Timing is the question here, the open-ended part.
it's not if, it's when.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
I love that. I'm so excited for our listeners for when the X Factor comes out for them to delve into it and see the amazingness that was that night. Thank you both so much for being here. Before we wrap up here on Come Talk with Aimee, we always do a come to completion round because we love to come to completion. This is a rapid fire round. And for this specific episode, we're doing Kink or Cringe. I'm going to have a list of questions and you let me know, is it kink or cringe? All right. Question number 1, blindfolds in public.
Kink.
Kink. Yeah, kink. All about it.
All right. Dom sub role play on the first date.
Kink. I mean, I did that
Kink.
last week.
I love it. I do it. Yeah.
It's not role play if it's the actual role, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kink.
Kink. Kink. We love it. Highly recommend. Consent. 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 Okay. Group chat debriefs after sex.
It depends on the group chat.
It's not kink, but it's not cringe. Like,
Okay. Somewhere in
I'd say
between.
that's
Somewhere
part
in
of being a
between.
woman.
yes, me too.
It's part of being in
Yeah, but-
community. I want to
Yeah.
know exactly what angles, like what positions. I would rather have the debrief
Yeah.
in person than in a group chat. But like, yeah, that's part of being a woman. We want to share all of this. I want the full debrief.
Yeah, I totally do. It's like, yeah, part of the vibe check is checking it out with the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'll keep you
Agreed.
accountable. They'll keep you real. But
Yeah, they're like,
'cause you
girl,
get-
what the fuck was this?
yeah.
Amanda, no.
I know. I know. What is it? It's like dick whipped or something. What is it? It's like you just become sort of like
Dickmatized.
brain.
Dick
Yes.
busy. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, dickmatized. Yeah. And so then you tell your friends, and then 2 weeks in when you're dickmatized, it's like, yeah, but remember when he really did that dumbass thing? And you're like, oh yeah, I remember
and
that.
you're
So
like,
they
"Oh,
keep it.
fuck."
They keep
Yes.
you on.
They can bring us back to reality
Yes.
for sure. All right. Next one, public makeout sessions.
Oh, I'm all about a kink. Love it.
Me as well. So hot. I guess where's your favorite public makeout session?
Literally,
Where has it?
the limit doesn't exist literally anywhere, anytime, any place. The date I went on last week, we were in a bar. It was like a cocktail bar, like Oz bar, whatever. And we originally were seated in an area where like, no one else was. And then there were 2 other couples that were sat down. We were fully whatever. I'll do it on the street. I'll do it literally. I don't really care. I had a makeout session on a date last year. I think we went to like a Mexican restaurant that had tacos, and we did even like senior special at 5 p.m. when there were children present. Probably not
That's
my finest
amazing.
moment, but we were making out for 3 hours in this restaurant over tacos that we didn't even eat because we were busy. My mouth was
Love
occupied.
that.
Yeah.
I'll do it live on stage. Public makeout session. Highly recommend. Love an
Yes.
audience.
That's amazing. Yes, we're all about that. Role play as a barista and customer.
Yeah, kink.
King.
I guess so. I guess
Yeah.
I'm down.
Down for most role plays.
But the
Hot.
weirder the
Sending
better,
you-
honestly. The more niche, the better.
Okay. Yeah,
Like
we like to
Shrek?
be specific.
Down. Vampire? Yes.
Shrek, I
Alien,
love it.
absolutely, please probe me. But yeah, Barisa, I'm like, to me that doesn't get me going.
It's too light.
There
I
was a
want the new
movie
light.
though. There was a movie with, my gosh, it was one of, I cannot not even, I can't, now my mind went blank. I can't remember a single person in it, but they film a porno. They film a porn movie in the coffee shop they work in at night, and
That's
it's
amazing.
Seth Rogen. No, yeah,
Okay.
Seth. Yeah, he's in it, and Elizabeth Banks. Watch that movie and then come back to me and tell me you're unsure of the role play, because they did some really good things in a coffee shop.
We have
I
homework
think I did
tonight.
watch, isn't it Zach and Miri make a porno? Or is
Yes,
that a
that
different one?
one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was in a coffee shop, and the sex they have on the beans palette, the coffee beans palette, that was very romantic.
Being stuck on the ass.
I could get down with a lot of different role plays, though.
Love it. We love a good role play. I want everybody in the comments, please let us know your favorite role play. Okay. Sending nudes to your ex by accident.
Cringe. Oh,
Cringe.
that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Once
Total
there's
cringe.
no access to my body, that's part of why I block people, because the text wouldn't go through anyways.
Yes. Smart. I love that strategy. Okay. Sending a kink quiz before the second date.
I do it on the first.
I love it. I'm going to start implementing that and be like, yes.
No, I narrated it to him. It was really hot.
That is
That's super
hot.
That is hot. Ooh.
Yeah. I was like, okay. And then I'd ask follow-up questions about each one.
Mm-hmm.
It's hot. I
Fabulous.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. Catherine, I am taking notes. Okay. Matching kink themed tattoos.
Probably
Just
cringe.
not a tattoo person. I'm not
I'm
a
gonna say
tattoo
cringe.
person.
I have one
two
tattoo
tattoos.
that just says I love you, that I got when I was having a mental breakdown, and it's in my handwriting.
That's amazing.
I love
You
a
had
mental
had
breakdown.
17. That's what got me in this path. But yeah, I think matching tattoos are kind of cringe, and I hate it when people get the names of their partners on. I'm like, I feel like that's foreshadowing to the end of the relationship.
Yeah, that's not really. Who was it that was dating Kim Kardashian and had all of the names of her and her kids tattooed, and then they
know.
broke up? I don't remember.
That sounds
Davidson? Did he
crazy.
do that, or was that someone else? Was that Pete Davidson, or was that someone else?
Yes, Pete Davidson. It was Pete Davidson.
And now
yes.
he got all of his tattoos removed. So now he has none.
Yes, we understand why now. So, morning after selfies, cringe or kink?
I have one on my phone right now that I sent to a couple of people, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Kink.
I'd say it's not a kink, but it's not a cringe either. That's just part of being a girl.
Yeah.
That's just part of it. That's just part of it. Amazing. I love it. Before we wrap up, Catherine and Amanda, where can everyone find you? Where can everyone find information about the X Factor?
For the X Factor, we're on Instagram at join.thexfactor, spelled EX because it's your ex. That's where you'll get more of the up-to-date information, the clips, the whatnot. If you want to apply to be on our next show for casting, you can do that there and figure out tickets, whatnot. To find me, I am Catherine Drysdale on Instagram and TikTok, and CatherineDrysdale.com.
Amazing.
Your
Where can
branding.
people see you, Amanda?
Yeah, but I'm not as clean cut as Catherine's branding. I'm on Instagram as _Kink Consultant, and then you can also find me at my website, Amanda Dames.
Yes. Oh, thank you both for being here. Thank you for our listeners for listening in. So fun. If we haven't convinced you already to watch The X Factor when it comes out, like, hello, were you listening to the same podcast that we just recorded? All right. Thank you for our listeners for being here. We love you guys. Send it to a friend of me, grandma, the postman, anyone really. And as always, remember to lubricate, masturbate, and get ate. And thank you for coming. Please come again, and come again. 3 DOMs, 1 blindfold, 1 X. The X Factor wasn't just a show, it was a mirror for how our desires, our pasts, and our pleasures collide. Huge thanks to Amanda and Catherine for bringing us behind the scenes of this unforgettable night. If you loved this episode, follow Come Talk with Aimee and share it with someone who's ready to reimagine what dating could look like. Raw, playful, and a little bit provocative.